Hi guys, this is the new series that I'll be running where I'm reviewing you playing. Today I'll be reviewing Gasjax69 at 60NL. If you'd like to get involved, please send me a 10 to 15 minute video of you playing via Discord or YouTube.
So, not a lot happening so far. Lots of folding. This is obviously hugely marginal, but we've got efficient, so might as well look at it.
So you called with 6-4 off here. It's an interesting spot, but it's a fold. So I've plugged it into Equilab, approximated a middle position range and a cutoff range, cutoff flatten range, and with 6-4 off there, you've got 21% equity. The pot odds were 1/6.5, 15.4% equity required. So it would seem like that's a fine call, but obviously you're not going to realise that equity most of the time. So the question is, when do you realise that equity? And given your out position to 2 players, it's going to be quite hard. You're going to need to flop quite well. So looking at the percentage chances of achieving this, you're gonna flop 2 pair 5.6% of the time, 2 pair or better, or an open-ended straight door 8% of the time. So overall, you're gonna flop 2 pair plus open-ended straight door 13.6% of the time. And with about 20% equity, you're gonna have to realise your equity about 75% of the time to meet this 15.4% threshold here. So 70% of the time you need to realise your equity. You're only about to continue versus the bet approximately 13.6% of the time, because you're going to have to fold a lot of pairs on the flop, gut shots. It's unlikely that you're going to realise that equity 6-4 off. So the question is, where is the threshold for this? So I've seen some other ones. We've got 9-8 off here, flatting, 23%. King 7 off, about 23% as well. And 7-4 suited, 23%. So it's all quite close. But the real difference is, so with about 23% equity, with about equity of 23%, we need to realise that equity about 65% of the time. So, and the major difference between these different hands are how well you flop. So you can see all the individual chances of flopping all these different hands here, but basically the chance of continuing easily with 9-8 off is 16% of the time on the flop, 7-4 suited 21.7% of the time, and 9-8 suited 26.9% of the time. So the point of this is to show how different hands realise the equity better. So like 7-4 suited is far better flat than 9-8 off here perhaps, because of the flush draw opportunities that you get to continue the flop. That helps you realise your equity, play more aggressive, check raise more, and of course you'll flop sometimes as well with pairs that you can continue, but it's difficult to measure. And that also is backed up by PO Sims favouring suited hands massively. So I don't know exactly where I flat the flatten range, so I'm not going to give that to you because I don't want to give you wrong information, but 6-4 off is too loose, and I'd say 7-4 suited is a good flat. 9-8 off is probably on the threshold.
Here I'd agree to a polarised bet, which this is not going to be included in. I'll give a bit of time to check to me again. He's got a pretty low fold 3 bet, and 1 out of 5, so we'll just flat that one. Just like that. That's a nice flop for us now. Here's a fold. Again, take the polarised. So there's the ace, checks twos, really tight in strong hands there. call, but I'm not overly thrilled about it. Ace is probably just dull, and if a check raises, probably just call it and lose, obviously, and then it gets a big fold.
With the 8-9, I'd just be checking back here. Betting isn't the end of the world, but it just works well as a check. The more interesting hand here is the Ace-9. You said you used a polar range on the flop, the Ace-9 on the 10-8-3. So I've simulated, this is the PO response. So this inverts as button versus big blind on 10-8-4. 33-60 are the two sizes, and it's sort of mixed in the middle, but obviously a very hard strategy to implement. If you actually wanted to do such a thing, you bet all your 8x, 10x, lock your 4x, difficult to implement correctly. Whereas you can also use a merged range, just betting the 100% range here, as you can see. 100% range, there you go. And if you compare the EVs in it, there's actually only a 0.03% EV drop by betting range. So it's just a good spot to simplify and bet range. Once you get to the turn, after checking flop, I don't mind barreling, just reminding myself of the hand. So I don't mind barreling turn here. I think that's okay. Checking back is also fine. And then once you get to the river, I'd just use a bigger size in here. You're likely against a weaker player. You definitely find how you bet big here. And once you bet small, you sort of induce those weird shoves, weird raises, which you could probably just easily fold to versus when you bet bigger. So I prefer to see a bigger bet on the river, get more value, and sort of prevent the chances of getting raised there. Calling's fun once raised.
Fold that, three-bet that to a little bit more than 3x just because it's a min bet. That's very, very bottom of our opening range. It's a pretty good flop for us. It's a little bit more dynamic, so we've got a little bit bigger than usual, than 1/3. I wouldn't be betting absolutely everything there. Obviously for this one's the atypical kind of 1/3 bet range spot.
So the next two spots to look at are the King and the 3-bot pot against cutoff versus button, and Ace-8 versus cutoff versus big blind in a single raise spot. So firstly, let's look at King. You said you'd be using a polar strategy here, and a slightly bigger sizing. I think the bigger sizing is okay, but I'd be betting range here for simplification. You wouldn't be able to balance your range correctly, and there's minimal EV loss. By betting range for about half pot or 33 is fine. For the ace, I think it's 6-3. With the ace-8 or ace-9, I think it was. You said you'd be betting range. That's absolutely fine. Just want to point out, if you can, there's significant EV loss. There's about 2% EV loss on these ace-X boards by betting range. So by betting a smaller size in here with a smaller party range, so your 8x for protection, some of your lower pocket pairs, and then some of these ace-X hands, you can gain a little bit more EV, but it's probably not something to worry about at the moment.
A little over 4x in that case. On these monotone balls, we're going to take a really small 1/3 bet there, and then we polarize on the turn. I don't think with this board that is polarized and strong enough to confirm any real value there. It's a fold, and with that, I'm just happy to see showdown.
With the A7 here, I've checked flop versus regular versus the fish though, betting's line, and once you actually bet flop, I'd carry on barreling against the fish. I think versus smaller sizing, you'd get you'd know about it if they had a flush, and you've got a lot of value to get from all sorts of spade draws and ace-x hands.
Size up slightly to discourage calls and hope it gets through. And on this, so it's not really 3-bet a lot. It's not so dynamic that I'm worried about betting too large here. And now I can polarize and go a little bit bigger. Put that like that. So I'm just going to call and then keep bluffing, hopefully. Not an ideal card, but even then it's not. You'd have to be doing that with some good shots, wouldn't he? Oh, he bombs it in. So, aggressive factor confidence, so he's fairly aggressive.
Okay, the next spot is the ace-10 off, under the gun versus small blind. Use a small bet here. I'd personally go polar definitely versus small blind. With either bigger or smaller sizing. This is the small blind range I've approximated. And this is Per's response. So I'd probably be ace-10 to fine bet sometimes. I'd probably use about half pot size bet here. And betting ace-10 and ace-jack sometimes and checking sometimes. Once you get to the turn, you bet again. That's obviously fine with the 2-bet, and then you get check raised, and then you get shoved on the river for pot size bet, and you decided to call. Look at the turn check raise. They can have one combo of 10-10s, one combo of 6-5, 6-6, 5-5. Given that they didn't check raise flop versus a third pot size bet on a really quite what's perceived as a dangerous board. 4 combos is ace-10, and 3 combos are monster draws like king jack suited, king queen suited, queen jack suited, 9-8 suited, other hand jack 9 suited perhaps. Stuff like that. So tone call's obviously fine. And then the river pot odds, so the pot lets you have 33% pot odds. You lose to 2-3 combos, and that's being generous with them all. 9-8 suited, 10-10s, and even some 6-6 or 5-5. So you require them to bluff 1-2 combos. Or also if you chop with ace-10 4 times, you'll have about 33% equity, so I'm pretty confident that's a fine call.
Call that one and check call turn. And hopefully these station enough. It's going to be enough. Here I think I don't really call this, and so I'm going to turn this into a bluff for a smaller sizing. With the diamond blocker. The extra equity that goes with it. And I suppose I'm just going to have to continue with my aggression. Oh, not ideal.
I quite like the play with the a7 off here. You can check call flop, check raise turn, and shove river. Flop obviously fine, turn works as check call or check raise. You could also check raise some ace-10, ace-8 with a diamond, ace-queen with a diamond, ace-king with a diamond. But I think it's fine, and river play's fine as well. I don't think it's a massively exploitable line. You're going to have to fold out some some straights probably, and some maybe sets, and some flushes to be massively profitable here. But it's quite nice to balance with your value, and as well it means that if they do overfold, your bluffs profit, and obviously if they call, your value profits as well. So nice hand.
Here it's going to be polarized, but I think this is one I can put in there. Again, right at the bottom of it.
With the king 10 here, you should use a polar and a bigger sizing. I'd just be betting range either for a small or bigger sizing here. And the PO sim says something similar. Using a smaller sizing works fine too without any EV loss, and you can apply that across pretty much all flops in this formation of big blind versus cut off 3-bolt pots.
I think here don't really have anything going for us, but so we'll check one more, and then if he checks this back, then we'll take a stab.
And finally, you had the queen 7 suited here, cut off first button. You check, and then bet line. I think that's a fine line. You seem to debate bet the flop, which I personally check range on. Ace 8-2, which is a very similar flop. This is button versus cutoff. You're nearly checking entire range, and generally in this sort of formation, cutoff first big blind, cutoff first button. You want to be checking almost range on most flops. Exploitatively, you can also take a different line. So here's a response versus a near check range. They're checking a lot of ace-x, obviously because you're checking ace-king a lot, and ace-queen, etc. So when, obviously the pool isn't checking that ace-x there, so when they get to the turn, and you bet, they have to call the ace-x, and so it's a harder defense for them. And then if you get to the river as well, so just normal river, and you bet again, their only calling range is ace-x. Whereas I think you'll find a lot of people bet that on the flop, so I have to end up calling their pocket pairs or any like king x or jack x that they pick up on turns. So that would be more harder defense. So personally, I'd like to see a check bet line. There are a lot. I think that's a good exploit to play, especially at your pool. And that's everything. So thanks for watching, guys. Comment below any questions you have. Please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. And if you'd like to get involved, please send me a 10-minute video of you playing via my Discord, and I'll review it for free. Doesn't need to have commentary on, can be just gameplay. Thanks.